always fun to catch up with Damien Sordelett. He is of the News and Advance. And, well, let's go right off the bat first and review Arkansas. Biggest win in Flames history, question mark?
I would say so, just because you win in an SEC stadium or Power 5 stadium for that matter in front of a large crowd. I mean, you look back to Virginia Tech in 2020, that was like 1,000 fans there, and the Baylor team in 2017 had a new coaching staff and ended up being, it was a bad team that year. So if you're looking for a program-defining win that you could say ranks up there among all the others, that has to top the list just because Arkansas is no slouch either, had 5 wins, and just based on everything else Liberty's done over the last few years, that is the win that puts Liberty on the national map and probably keeps them there for quite some time.
And, I mean, honestly, to me, they just, from what I saw at the game, they just didn't beat Arkansas. I mean, it was, I don't want to say never in doubt, but pretty darn close to never in doubt.
Yeah, even when Arkansas was making that late rally, I thought Liberty still was going to win it just because, the offensive line recorded, 14 tackles for losses, 4 sacks. That now puts Liberty number 1 in the nation in both categories, because, you're going up against one of the best rushing attacks in the nation and a seasoned SEC offensive line, and Liberty just had its way with them. And they found creative ways to use these linemen through twists, stunts, different sorts of alignments. So that way, you're not seeing what's coming on any one particular play. And I think Liberty's been able to do really well with that. And even there at the end on the 2-point conversion with 1:11 left, Liberty had the right personnel on the field to swarm to the ball. If KJ Jefferson kept it, which he did, and Ahmad Walker at 5'11" and 215 pounds was able to come in, fly in, and stop Jefferson. All 6'2", 240 pounds, short of the goal line. So, I think Liberty, just the way playing defense, that's a reason why I thought game was never really in doubt.
What's the quarterback situation look like going forward?
Well, all 6 who are on the roster actually practiced Tuesday for the first time this season, which normally you would think August 8th would have been the time that would happen, not November 8th. But, it was good to see that. I think Jonathan Bennett has earned the right to remain the starter after completing 72% of his passes, throwing for nearly 500 yards, 5 touchdowns and only 2 interceptions in wins over BYU and Arkansas. But Caden Salter is back from groin surgery. I don't know how well he can move just yet, but he did practice Tuesday. Charlie Brewer took all pregame reps against Arkansas, but never got on the field because Bennett played well enough to stay on there. So you have 3 quarterbacks who have started at the college level who are all seemingly healthy now. So I would think Bennett gets the start, but I think at the first slip up, you might go to Brewer because of how seasoned he is. I wouldn't be shocked to see packages for Caden Salter at some point just to get him a few more reps, because I think they are projecting him to be the quarterback of the future, and you want to get him ready for the 2023 season.
When you say first flip up, how short is the leash? Because you and I have been around sports long enough to know if somebody's constantly looking over their shoulder, that's probably not going to equal great production.
Yeah, you hit the nail right on the head there, Bob. I don't think the leash is that short. It might be if the offense is stagnant and there's a turnover and you can sense momentum changing and you need something to help flip it. I think that's when you go. I don't say, like for instance, 3 punts on the first 3 drives for Liberty, but they actually had moved the ball on a couple of those possessions before punting it away. I think, that's not when you turn to someone else. But I think if the offense is not making any progress and there are turnovers being forced, I think that's when you'll see the leash, go completely to nothing, and then you bring in someone else.
100% prayers and thoughts still with Shedro Lewis on the loss of his father, but really kind of a Disney ending last week as Day Hunter goes down in Shedro Shone, so to speak. Talk about Shedro's performance.
Yeah, that was a really gutsy performance for him. And, I even saw him at practice Tuesday, and he didn't seem like the vocal, energetic self that, you normally see. So, honestly, he's going through a lot right now, and he's still with the team. And, you don't know what's going on down in his home state of Florida with his family right now because, in this post-COVID world, you might be handling, family tragedies like that a little bit differently. But, right now with Day Hunter out, and from what I've heard from sources, could be a while. Lewis could be a guy who gets to be moved up to RB1. I think he has the potential to do a really good job in that role. But TJ Green seems to be back from the PCL strain that held him out earlier in the year. Will he get a run? You never know, but if you're unsure about Shedro's status this week, TJ Green could give you a big jolt because, he was the MVP of last year's Lending Tree Bowl on the offensive side. He's a guy who can give you those dirty yards and be a workmanlike type game that by the end of the game you look at the box score and say, oh, I didn't realize he had close to 100 yards because that's the type of guy running back he is. So I think Liberty will be fine there, but you just hope Shedro finds some peace during this time, and you hope Day Hunter gets back as soon as possible.
I am one of those guys who reads your stuff online, but I also look at Twitter and the social media world. I have not seen near as much about UConn as I have seen about the Flames not being in the top 25 for the bowl and the win against Arkansas. Is Liberty looking past UConn to a degree? I hate to ask it that way, but
I will say this. Jonathan Bennett, in his second answer Saturday when asked about, hey, you led the team to these 2 wins, how do you feel? He goes, it feels really good right now, but we got UConn coming up. And he immediately started talking about how good UConn was because, they've won 4 of the last 5, 1 win away from bowl eligibility, which just says the job Jim Mora has done up there in East Hartford. I mean, in their last 2 wins, they beat Boston College 13-3, and then they beat UMass 27-10. So their defense has been playing really well. The loss to Ball State, they allowed more than 20 points. That's the only loss they've had in the last 5 games, and all the other games they're allowing 14 points or fewer. So Liberty's definitely not looking past it, and I don't think Liberty's going to look past it because Liberty's going to be pretty fired up for being left out of the college football playoff rankings. And if the committee's saying, well, we don't think you've done enough, now Liberty's probably saying, oh, you don't think we've done enough? Well, guess what? We need to go out and prove that we belong in those rankings.
Yeah, last thing I'll say about that before we get on is I think, the Gardner-Webb game scared me because I felt like that was the look-past game because you had BYU next. You got Virginia Tech next, and now I almost feel like UConn is that scary look-ahead game. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I agree with you there, and that's everyone is calling it a trap game.
Yep.
But if you have the mentality of, okay, the College Football Playoff Committee doesn't think we're one of the top 25 teams, we need to go prove it, and that means you have to go prove it against UConn. You can't wait till Virginia Tech.
Right.
So, I don't think Liberty's going to look past the Huskies.
Well, and honestly, Virginia Tech's win right now is not as good of a win as it was, maybe at the beginning of the year. No disrespect to the Hokies.
Yeah, and it wasn't as good in 2020 when Tech was a 16.5-point favorite. It was 4-2 with both losses coming in league play and was on the outskirts of the top 25. But again, it's still still a Power 5 game,
yep.
And I don't care how the Hokies are doing. If you can beat the Hokies, for in-state bragging rights, you'll definitely take it.
Yeah, and it's weird because if we got into a whole discussion of rank Liberty's top wins of all time, I think that Virginia Tech win this time would probably be in the top 3 or 4, even though statistically should it? Probably not. But that's just my opinion.
Yeah, and I think you can make a point, and I could also make a point that the 2020 win would still be considered a bigger win, just
right.
Because Liberty's first game in the top 25 and the way it unfolded and the way Liberty won still puts it up there.
I'd counter by saying more people are going to see this one, but I don't think either one of us is wrong, especially when it's an opinion question. Tell me this: what is the big deal by being in the college football top 25 playoff if you're down in the 20s?
There's nothing big about it right now, but it would just be getting in, because then if you're in, the committee's noticing you. Right. And for Liberty this year, because as an independent, Liberty can't get the G5 slot into the Cotton Bowl, because that goes to the highest rated conference champion. Now, if Liberty, this is why it was important for Liberty to get in the early rankings, because if Liberty keeps winning and keeps improving the resume, if Liberty gets into the top 10, it gets the at-large spot into the Cotton Bowl to play the G5 team. So that's why I think it was important, because if Liberty can get in and then move up the rankings, then there's the outside shot of, okay, if you get to the top 10, now we're talking about potential New Year's Six bowl game, not playing a pre-Christmas bowl game in like the Cure Bowl or Myrtle Beach Bowl. I mean, still a bowl game, but the attractiveness of that pales in comparison to possibly a New Year's Six bowl game against a G5 champion, and Liberty would then be drumming up okay, we think we're the best G5 program in the nation. Now we get a chance to prove it.
Yeah, my opinion only, I think it would be really tough to get into the top 10 of the college football playoff top 25 this year. But what I'm hearing you say, just by my reasoning, is maybe not as much for this year, but future lay the foundation for the Flames, so to speak.
Yeah, and then if you're able to get in and the committee knows that your program is going to be good, when you're in Conference USA next year and you're not playing any Power 5 teams, you're going to need to have that built-in respect. So that way, if you're able to run the table, they're going to rank you and you're going to have a chance to get in a New Year's Six bowl game, because they're not going to expand the playoffs in 23, and you're still hoping for the avenue in 24 and forward that if they expand it, you get a chance to get in.
For Liberty right now, and especially with the win that you had last week and with the timing of another SEC school that starts with the letter A, did that fuel Flames for what could happen? Or I hate to use that term. Did that fuel the fire for what could happen down the road? Or does the contract signing extension by Hugh Freeze pretty much put that out of water, if you get where I'm going?
I don't think it puts it out of water, because, there was no leverage Liberty had in terms of putting in a huge buyout. Right. Because now there's an SEC-friendly buyout in place there, and, there's two trains of thought. One, if he is genuinely happy in Lynchburg and his family's genuinely happy here, and you have a good work balance in terms of health, you don't want to leave because Liberty's treated you like gold. And You're going to be in a position where even if you have a year like last year where you're coming off a 10-1 season and you're 7-5, they're not going to run you out the door. Whereas if you want to have one more chance to go for a national championship, that school and that part of the country where he's from comes calling. Is that appealing? Yes, because if you can chase a national championship before you retire, you're going to take it. But if you're at peace where you are right now and you don't want to, and you feel like you've proven everything you could, then I don't see any reason to leave.
And I don't know that we ever get away from this talk, to be honest.
Every silly season cycle, during every season, you're still going to discuss it, because everyone's going to say he wants to get back in the SEC. And if he keeps winning and people are talking about him, that's a good thing for Liberty, because then that means the job is an attractive one. If there's ever an opening, and whoever comes in is going to know you're going to have a lot of support and commitment from the university to be a top G5 program.
We'll talk about job prospects later for all of us, because we never know. McDonald's might need me at some point. But one thing I was going to say real quick about the football stuff is I see that you do your bowl projections each week in terms of what the other guys are saying, the national writers and whatnot. If you had to put money on it right now, do you think there is one spot that is more happening for the Flames, or is it still just a roll the dice and see what comes out?
I would, well, just so your listeners know, Liberty doesn't have a primary tie-in to a bowl.
Right.
So essentially the agreement with ESPN events means ESPN is going to put Liberty in a bowl game where it's an attractive matchup. Now, the other side of that is if certain conferences can't fill their bowl slots and Liberty has an attractive record, yeah, that bowl committee is going to want Liberty there. And I think that's what's trending with the Independence Bowl, because Army has the primary tie-in right now, but the Black Knights have 2 FCS wins and only 1 counts toward bowl eligibility. So Army has to win out. And the asterisk next to that, because the Army-Navy game is after the bowl selection show. So if Army loses to Troy, Army can't get into a bowl game. And I think that's where a lot of people are trending and why Liberty is more of a favorite to go to the Independence Bowl. And that's where I think would be a good spot, because you'll be playing an AAC team. And, it'd be nice to play like a Houston the year before the Cougars go to the Big 12. And if Liberty could win that game, there's the proverbial passing of the torch from a team considered one of the top ones in the G5 to one that's Liberty that wants to be the top team in the G5. And
I can't see a situation where they stay out, because I know you brought that up in your article maybe 2 weeks ago or last week. Didn't mean to interrupt.
It was last week, because Eric Miller with USA Today projected Liberty not to get in because there was too many bowl-eligible teams. But I think right now, with the way the season's gone, I don't think there are going to be enough bowl-eligible teams, which means, you're going to want Liberty in there. And even if there are more than enough bowl-eligible teams, if Liberty is 11-1, ESPN is going to find a way to get Liberty in there, because you don't want to leave a team like that out.
No. And Hugh Freeze's name carries water in my eyes, too.
Oh, yeah. It does. And, you can create storylines with whoever you place Liberty against.
Damien, always love having you on. You're welcome anytime to talk about whatever, and we will continue reading your outstanding work in the News in Advance.
Absolutely, Bob. Thank you for having me on, and I look forward to being back on again.